Hello, today is not GTWS. Today I'm not even gonna drive, or at least not driving live. Today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite tracks, or at least used to be, which is called Grand Valley Speedway, now called Grand Valley Highway 1. So, before we go into the subject itself, I'm gonna present myself quickly, for the ones who may not know me. I am Thomas. I am from France, as you may hear from my French accent, and I've been an active esport player on Gran Turismo Sport. I went to 7 World Tours. I've even got my face into Gran Turismo 7. You know, like those bubbles and those guys who talks to you, like I'm part of those. I've been playing Gran Turismo since Gran Turismo 1, and I really kind of remember it from Gran Turismo 3. My first memory of Gran Turismo is actually on Grand Valley Speedway back then, on a Viper GTS blue with white stripe, and I remember driving that on the start-finish straight and ending into the wall because I did not know how to drive when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, as you can already tell, this is going to be a very interesting subject for me. As a kind of disclaimer, if it needs to have one, this is my own view, so this is what I think and believe. This only applies to me and none else. Also, if we don't agree on something, that doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong or the other way around. We're just not agreeing on something, and that's fine that way, because I believe this is fine to have people not agreeing with you. Obviously, I am going to be biased. I'm not hiding it at all. I am going to be biased towards one way more than another. And some will even say that what I'm gonna say is kind of boomerish. And to be fair, I don't really mind, or I don't really care if you say so. It's just my beliefs and my thoughts remains what it is regardless of that. So yeah. And to kind of put a question onto this, without being too spoilery, but I bet you already know how it looks like. Is the new Grand Valley, is it still Grand Valley? That is my question today. And I'm gonna try to answer with my own opinion. And obviously everyone has an opinion. So there will be as many opinions as there is people. So this is only mine. And without further ado, we're gonna go into the subject, and it's gonna be a long ride. So yeah, let's go where it all started, really, with Gran Turismo 1. And we're gonna go with the tracks and what they meant, at least for me, back in the days and even today when I look at it. So we've got the high speed ring, which is kind of a oval, like the first section is kind of an oval part in the way forward, with a kind of a very simple infield with like the right, left, left, right, left. But then, yeah, it's kind of its purpose. It's a kind of oval. It's a very, very high speed track, hence its name. Then we have Autumn Ring, which is a small track for sports cars, especially the Autumn Ring Mini. Special Stage and Clubman Stage are basically the city tracks for me, at night on top of this. Deep Forest is a racetrack within the forests and valleys with a high average speed, especially the second last of it. You carry a lot of speed in those left-handers. Trial Mountain is a bit of the same, but within mountains, hence the name once more, and with a lot of elevation changes. And Grand Valley Speedway, for me that's the Grand Prix track, with like grandstands. It's noticeably longer than the other racetracks, as it is in Deep Forest and Trial Mountain back in the days. It's where the main events happens, and it feels that way when you drive on it and when you see how it looks like. Obviously there's that last one, the test course. It's just an oval to test top speed, acceleration and braking. But yeah, aside that, Grand Valley it feels to me that it's the Grand Prix track. And from that, that kind of gives it philosophy for me. It's a purpose-built racetrack meant for big events, and it even got like a kind of an icon status through the years. Like, I'm going over Gran Turismo 1 now. It kind of goes as an icon, and in a way, even in GT Sport and now GT7, there is some little logos for like the menus. So in Gran Turismo Sport, it was for some decals, and for GT7, it is for the circuit experience. It was Grand Valley East. It was just like the shorter version of Grand Valley, and it was the icon itself. So it kind of gives that very special aura around this track, when some others don't, even though they're very great tracks. But it did not reach the Grand Valley status. And this is when we go to actually Gran Turismo 7 and today's update, where on a 2D plan, so when you just look at the track map, it is 95% accurate. Obviously, there's a slight changes here, slight changes there, and all. And especially this last sector has been reworked layout-wise. The distance and lap time are pretty close. We're running between 140, 150 in like GT3s, like all super GT cars. The elevation has changed though, massively, mainly on the mid section, where on some parts it goes downhill before it was going uphill, especially after the second hairpin. But to be fair, this is not so bad. Like, the elevation changes, I can live with it, and it's not like, I think it's been made in a decent way that it doesn't hinder the layout itself. But to come back on the last sector, I do believe the right-hander after the bridge is a bit too, not too sharp, but too tight. Like, you need to actually brake a lot more than you used to be. And the chicane is very, very close after the tunnel and the end of the right-hander. So I'm not sure if it's gonna work well in a racing condition, because I do believe one way is gonna be way better than the others, especially when battling. But it remains to be seen. Again, the track has been out today, but those are not the main issues, if you ask me. The main issues, or maybe the main issue, which could be like developed in more underlayer, it's the visuals of the track. So I'm gonna say it right now. The environment by itself, track discounted, the environment looks great by itself. It's a very good scenery. It's the west coast of America. It looks nice when there's the sunset. It's a nice ambience. It's a nice environment. It's a nice vibe. But that goes, like, when you cross now the environment and the track itself, that's where things begins to be a bit more sketchy. Because when you look at the original Grand Valley, the grass was green, there was some like sand traps in case you were going off track. It had that visual of being a racetrack. But now what we have is orange sand, or very, like, it's not like a yellow sand, it's more leaning toward orange. We're lacking a lot the grandstands. I even took the effort to go in the actual lobby and do a lap in the lobby, because in time trial it removes some of the features, as in some of the grandstands sometimes. So I went into a lobby to have the full thing, and even there it felt really empty. Like, it was just empty hills around the track and a few people around the track sitting on either the hills or small stands, not grandstands. And when I say grandstands, I mean grandstands, like you have lots of people, like you can have in the start-finish straight of Le Mans, and I went there in real life to actually saw that by myself. And it just feels so small. Also, the tarmac itself, we went from a purpose-built racetrack tarmac to just a road with the actual signs of the road. So you have the stops, you have the speed limits, you have even on the side of the track the signs to, like, if you go left you go to that direction, if you go right you go to that direction and all. It's really a big contrast. And then it's not even over. The pit boxes. What pit boxes? The pits are just empty and it's a restaurant behind. It really feels like those highway restaurants, and like the name Grand Valley Highway actually fits into that. I'm gonna give that credit at least. Grand Valley Highway is what we got. And yeah, it's just a restaurant. There's even some clips like when you keep the idle camera rolling. At some point, it's just gonna zoom in a damn burger and it's French fries. Are we supposed to race, or just supposed to have a nice stop and eat something? I don't know, but it feels just out of purpose. And as I said, like the grandstand or the stands themselves, it just feels so empty compared to the original, or the crowd seems so empty compared to the original, that I tend to believe there's more animals than actual spectators on the track. And there's a lot of seagulls and seals here. Why? Why this? It means nothing. It's like 100 meters below the racetrack itself. What's the point of this? I don't know. And then one big thing, and like I've seen that not long ago. Do you remember, and not September, but do you remember the Blue Bridge of Grand Valley Speedway? I don't know if it's got a name. I'm gonna call that the Blue Bridge. What Blue Bridge? Where is it? I don't see it. And the worst in this is they've put a little banner or little like things before the bridge where it says historical place, Grand Valley Bridge. But it's not the same bridge at all. It's just a damn bridge with nothing on it. It looks nothing alike the historical bridge we've got from Gran Turismo 1 to Gran Turismo 6. And this is like, I feel trolled at this point, because it's not historical at all. And there's even like on the last corner, there's like historical place, and it just says like whatever name tunnel. But this tunnel did not exist beforehand. It never was a thing up until Gran Turismo 7. You can't say it's historical if it just got added today. It's not historical at all. It's just like a new place. And like on top of this, I do believe that the Saint Croix bridge, is actually a better bridge that fits more Grand Valley than Grand Valley Highway's bridge. And this is an issue, because when you brand a track Grand Valley, but another track does a better job at it, you really do have an issue. Also, on the racetrack kind of atmosphere, where are the curbs? I know not all racetracks do have curbs, but main racetracks do have curbs painted in two colors, mainly white and red. Some other tracks could be like blue and yellow or whatever, but there is some curbs. Here it's just like gray borders you don't even pay attention to, like if you don't notice it. Because it's just not a racetrack. It's just roads put together to look like Grand Valley. And like, I don't even think it's a stretch to say that, but when I was driving that track like forward and backwards, there's one place where I felt it was Grand Valley Speedway. And it's a section like, it's I think about 20-30 meters long. The entrance of the second bridge, or the exit of the second bridge if you come from the other way around, feels really like Grand Valley Speedway. But that's it. Anything else doesn't look anything like we've seen from Gran Turismo 1 to Gran Turismo 6. And this, I believe, is an issue. But can we blame Realism? It's an actual question, and I do believe having original tracks being based on real locations is a nice idea on paper, but it needs to be executed with some sense, especially for a returning track. And on this special occasion, Realism is falling really flat on this face, as some bridges and borders will be way too dangerous in real life, and that's what will also kill realism in a way. Like when you look at the second hairpin on the way forward, if you go straight and you don't turn, or like you have your brakes failing or you have a collision, you just go like full speed into the gravel trap, there is literally nothing to stop you aside a few rocks here and there, and you can literally pass in between those. So it begins to be a ramp, and that ramp leads you into the sea, literally. I know that happened in Formula 1, that a few drivers ending into the sea, but it's very rare. But here it's literally an open gate to have a dive into the sea with your racing car. Also the bridges. The border of the bridges are not secured at all. Like there's basically the border you will have normally, and that's it. So that means if race cars will actually collide, and like you can literally lift your car, one could literally end 100 meters below the track and just crash like a pancake. It's just like, it blows my mind just to think about this. It's so out of purpose and so out of context. It's so out of subject. It's out of everything. And it's not like Polyphony Digital can't do good racetracks. We've got two good examples from Gran Turismo Sport. We call them Lago Maggiore and Dragon Trail. Those are purpose built racetracks which are really cool and decent to race on. I also even feel that Lago Maggiore was the spiritual successor of Grand Valley when I saw Grand Valley was not included into Gran Turismo Sport. And they can do that because those tracks are based on real locations. So the realism is taken from that, but they've made purpose-built racetracks. And they're very good. They're very good, and they look real. And like, you will tell me, aside maybe a few details here and there, you would tell me it's a racetrack that exists in real life. I wouldn't be too far to say, okay, sure. I mean, it looks like credible enough. And this is not something we have with Grand Valley Highway, because this is not a racetrack. It's just roads put together to have the shape of Grand Valley Speedway. And then we can even slide into like examples of OG tracks reworked in Gran Turismo 7. I name High Speed Ring, Deep Forest Raceway, and Trial Mountain. High Speed Ring and Trial Mountain are fairly similar in core to what they were beforehand, aside a few changes. High Speed Ring has turn 2 being a bit more sharper and have a grandstand added to it. You know, those same grandstands that are missing in Grand Valley. And Trial Mountain, so its main straight's been stretched to have a bit more passing and overtaking opportunities. But the corners themselves looked fairly similar. The paints on the road are very similar too, like the yellow stripes and all, they are the same, they're kept the same, which kept the visual identity of the actual track. Deep Forest is a bit more mixed feelings, especially with the second half of it. The first half is a faithful recreation of Deep Forest, maybe lacking a bit of like big trees covering the track to make it very like a deep forest. But the layout itself is remained unchanged. The tunnels are in the same place, same for Trial Mountain, slightly adapted obviously. And the second half of Deep Forest has been changed for maybe more passing opportunities. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm okay-ish. I would have liked the option to have both versions, but we don't. But it's still a better job than what they've done with Grand Valley. Even if Grand Valley's layout remains really and pretty much the same, its whole visual identity, or its new visual identity, it's new, like it's being remake, makes it a whole and completely different track altogether. And yeah, this is what it is right now, and I guess it is time to conclude on this. And I'm gonna try to make it pretty clear on my stance that Grand Valley Highway / Speedway had the potential to be one of the best additions to Gran Turismo 7 due to how iconic it is as a racetrack in Gran Turismo and the power of the new graphics since Gran Turismo Sport. And it's also proved that Polyphony Digital can do good original racetracks and even have new ones being good, hence Maggiore, hence Dragon Trail. And even the rework layouts of the originals are still fine. A few questionable layout changes, also the chicane in Trial Mountain, I haven't mentioned that, but this is questionable too. But it always keeps the core of them, like what I think is a good remaster or remake of a racetrack is if you give a picture out of context with someone who doesn't know and he's able to pinpoint which track it is, then you've done a good job. Granted, that person knows the track beforehand, but haven't seen the new changes. But the thing is now, like, we have altered the layout and elevation itself, but that's not the problem. This is not the problem at all. But the whole change of the visuals of the Grand Valley makes it really hard to believe it is Grand Valley. It's so different in tone, atmosphere and philosophy, in visuals, and again I'm only talking about the visuals, that I don't think it is Grand Valley anymore. It would have been a very nice scenery for a new original track like we haven't seen before, but it is not Grand Valley. It is not the one we knew for like so long, and it is not the one we appreciated back in the days. And of course some people will like the change, and some people will not like the change, and I'm part of the ones who don't like it. Also, I want to add that in the conclusion as well. I don't think because it's called Highway 1 that we'll see a Speedway version of it. The layout is way too similar between the OG Speedway and the new Highway 1. I don't see them doing a duplicate of it with just a scenery change to make it more like it was before. I would appreciate to have like a kind of skin version of Grand Valley Highway 1 being a highway version of the track, and the Speedway being a purpose racetrack being made with this exact same layout. I would appreciate that, but that's a lot of work to do, and I'm not denying they've done a lot of work to do this track. But it is not something I was expecting, nor something that I'm welcoming. And yeah, on a more personal note, I've been anticipating this track for about 5 years, and yeah, when I see that, it's not Grand Valley for me. Like, regardless if it's Highway 1 or Speedway, East being South now, I don't care. This is not Grand Valley. This is not what I remember, and bringing back that name Grand Valley brings a lot of memories to a lot of people playing the game, because it's a name from a long time ago. But you just give a name and not the rest. So what's the point of bringing that back if you do such drastic changes that it doesn't look like Grand Valley, even if it's the same layout pretty much. And yeah, like, it might be a stretch for some, but I really felt like I was driving in a rendition of Grand Valley Speedway in the north of Los Santos in GTA 5. And there is even that bridge, you know, that bridge which misses the blue part over it. Or maybe it's the other one. No, it's the other one, the new one added on the last section. This one looks really like one of GTA 5. And yeah, I really feel like someone did a custom track on GTA 5. And that's not something I was wishing to say at all before doing this video. So yeah, to end up on those words, in my opinion, and it is only mine, this track is out of its own subject for being a racetrack called Grand Valley. And I'm gonna stop on this. Feel free to comment if you want to. I have no clue on how many people will watch this video. Maybe 5 people, maybe more, I don't know. I just do it because I wanted to express that, and I felt I needed to express that. And again, I respect the people who worked on it, because I believe it's been some kind of hard work to do, and it's no easy at all to convert a track to an actual real life environment. But I can't hide, and I would lie to myself that I can't hide that I'm disappointed in this, and it is like, it's not nice to say, and I'm pretty sure it's not nice to actually hear that, but I don't want to lie on this, and I've been disappointed in the new rendition and remake of Grand Valley, and yeah, it's out of subject for being a racetrack. It's just how it is. So yeah, I wish you a very good morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. Take care. See you next time for whatever I'm gonna do. I don't know, but yeah, I needed to say that publicly, and I know that some will agree and some will not, and this is just fine. That's the way it goes. So take care and see you later.